Welcome to Sleuths Unleashed, unraveling criminal cases with your podcast hosts Victoria Kennedy and Susan Gonzalez. In this podcast, we dive deep into the world of crime solving, exploring both the mysteries that baffle and the breakthroughs that inspire. Whether it's cold cases, unsolved disappearances, or the innovative techniques that crack the toughest puzzles, we bring you stories that captivate and challenge the mind. Join us as we uncover the truth, one case at a time. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and let's get sleuthing.
Today we're going to bring it back around to Alissa Turney. We went out and actually went to Desert Center, California to kind of look around and see what was out there, since we knew it had been mentioned in his 98-page manifesto that the police found in his van when they did their initial search for Alissa at the house. So we went ahead and went out. We're going to have some video showing in the background behind us, so you guys can kind of watch that if you want. But we're also going to talk more about the case because we've got a lot of the case files too from the murder case that was done in court, the trial. So we kind of got more information, some more details from some witnesses, some more information that the detectives had that we didn't know about. And I think there's a lot of misinformation out there and a lot of information that maybe hasn't been let out. But if you read the documents, you would be able to see it. And we'll bring it around to all of that once we get through discussing Desert Center. So what do you think about Desert Center?
Well, not only is it hotter than hell, but it is there's too much traffic. There's too much attention in Desert Center. I mean, just when we were there alone, we had somebody who was waiting to get gas, and there's other people kind of going and taking pictures. I know this one guy totally got in one of my photos. Good thing I can Photoshop him out. But anyhow, you know, I don't feel that she's in Desert Center, but I feel that she's in the surrounding areas of Desert Center. I know that, people have found bodies out there, and it's a quick, easy dump. It's like right off the freeway. So someone could easily take the off-ramp, push that person out of the car, and it's pitch black there and never to be seen or heard from again. And it's not like there's businesses where it's going to be so packed where people are going to be coming in and out. The only business that's there is the post office. Other than that, there's nothing much out there. But again, I just don't feel that Desert Center is the area where she is at, but definitely in the surrounding areas of Desert Center.
Yeah, there's just too, I think it's more of like people stop to just take pictures because there's an old cafe there, an old gas station, pretty much just like ransacked. It's almost like in the cafe that they just up and left, like everything was gone, or not everything was gone, but like it's like they just left everything. They left quick kitchen equipment. There's receipts. There's phone books. There's all their documents. I mean, everything was there. It's just like they just like disappeared almost. And I'm not quite sure why that is. But yeah, it seems like not a place that you would actually put somebody, I don't think, if there's just too much traffic. And it's right by the highway. So like you said, when we got into town, you kind of felt like we needed to go a little bit farther west. And then I was looking more to the south side of the highway because there's kind of like an open area. It's mountainy. It's got roads that go up to the mountains. So like self-made roads. So where you need like a off-road dirt bike or a ATV or a Razor or something to go up there and look around. But we did go out, drive down the main road in town and go out to the old mine. It was a mine, right? That was the mine, and there's a prison out there. Or was that the prison part?
No, I believe it was the mine. That's where we were not able to access that. We would have to have permission to access that. But I don't think that was the other area where we want to go back to. I think that's two separate locations. But
Yeah.
if I can kind of backtrack a little, you know, I want to say for the past week, I've been doing a little bit more research, watching more videos about, the dad's videos, how, he has his own YouTube channel. He contradicts everything that his daughter says, and I'm watching her videos. And, it kind of got to the point where I just can no longer watch her videos. I don't know what it is, and I've said this before, and I am not saying that she is on any type of medication or drugs or anything. It simply could be the trauma. But I don't know, there's just something with her. So I don't know if maybe when she was little, if maybe the dad may have given her some type of medication, some type of narcotics. I don't know. Okay, and again, I really want to reiterate the fact that I am not saying she is under any type of influence of drugs or narcotics or alcohol of any kind. But there's something that is going on. And as I mentioned, that simply could just be the trauma. She had to take on a great amount of responsibilities at, I think, at like the age of 12, I think is what I heard.
Yeah.
Her mom passed away at, when she was very young. Her mom allegedly passed away from breast and lung cancer. However, once we were able to request the death certificate, it clearly indicated that it was indeed lung cancer, not breast cancer. So again, that just goes to show that there's another fabrication of lies. Um, and then also in regards to that, when I was looking at the mother's grave, and I don't know if this was just something, I don't know, but there's a picture of the mom, who I believe the little girl on the picture with the mom is Alissa. So right away, my mind kind of starts to go around and around, and you really don't know, you really don't want to know what goes on in my mind, right? So to me, it's like, okay, well, is this a subliminal message to the family? Is she going to be next? So I've kind of been on that little tangent, I guess we could say. And that's what kind of started my whole escapade of watching the dad's videos, of watching the sister's videos. And I'm not really sure, in my opinion, whose videos are the worst. Um, I was following the sister because I'm very interested in this case, but after a while, as I said, I just cannot do it anymore.
Yeah, and I follow both because the thing that gets me is that she posts a whole bunch about him and all the stuff about Alyssa, and then he goes back and he comments about her, and it's like a tit for tat back and forth almost as arguing. Because like right now, I was seeing a whole bunch of posts coming up, and all they're talking about it, all she's posting is the interview with the father, and so it's like going over the interview with the father again, and then you're just expecting him to respond here soon to what's going back, because then he'll say, she's just doing this for money, she's doing this for six figures, she's doing this for that. And the thing is that we've reached out to her multiple times because we've looked at this case like a ton. We've been doing tons of research, we have tons of documents, we've been out to Desert Center, um, we've done a lot of things, and we don't get any response. I mean, you just to even simply ask a question, because we wanted to put a search together out there. And it's like, if you're wanting justice, then we all should work together. And, if you want to do a search, we can gladly get a lot of people together and do a search. Like, we're here to do that. Like, we want to do that. We live out here, we can go out there. But it's like, it doesn't feel like anybody's really wanting to do, can I say, the legwork on it. We can sit around and talk about the case all day, but finding her and trying to find a body is not gonna, it's not gonna just appear. I mean, it might one day pop up somewhere, if somebody's out in the middle of nowhere and finds human remains and they get tested and they pop up to be hers. But just sitting around here, I mean, we can do podcasts all day and talk about the case, but we're not going to find her unless we go out and search like where he said in his manifesto, which I believe has some sort of truth to it. I don't think it's the right area, like you said. I don't think it's right in Desert Center because that's just too busy of an area. And then there's a vast, desert. But I think he never expected anybody to read that manifesto. He never thought police were going to come looking for her later on down the road. I mean, if he did, he wouldn't have had those 26 bombs in his van that they found when they went and searched for Alissa in the first place. I mean, so I don't think that he had that manifesto in that thing. There's 98 pages, so I'm not going to lie. I haven't read it all yet. I've started it, but I haven't read it all yet. So we'll probably have to have another episode of just that. But I don't think. I just think there's too much back and forth on this between the two, and there's not any action. Like, I want to know what the dad did. What did you do after she went missing? Where did you go search exactly? Because now we know that they searched the house and luminoled the house. There was no blood. We know they searched his truck that he had before he sold it. But they found it after he sold it, but they searched that truck and there was luminol done in it, no blood, no trace of Alissa, anything. They did find a little piece of paper that had Michael Turney's name on it, so they know that was the truck that did belong to him, but there was no blood, no nothing in that. So we know the crime scene wasn't at the house and wasn't in the truck that showed any fluid of any kind. So I want to know more of what he did. Where were you out handing out these flyers? Where were you out searching? Like, if you were driving to California, where were you driving in California? Can you, explain that to me? Like, I'd like to know his side of the story because he never gives it. He only lets her say whatever she says, and then he comes back attacking her, and that's it. He doesn't say anything else, really. He just comes and attacks her and not much about Alissa, where Alissa is the main part of this and the main point. So I don't understand why we're not hitting on that, and we can't just try to find her and all of us work together, except for going back and forth. It's crazy.
That might be a part of her entire trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we've seen in the videos where Alissa is saying, Dad's a perv. And, I can only imagine, this is a man who feels the government is after him. They're stalking him. He is making himself seem like he's this very important person because allegedly he served in the military. He was in Vietnam, which that was later noted that he never served time in Vietnam. He then goes and becomes a part of this electrical union, I believe it was. And he was a cop. He was only a cop for 3 years. And he's saying, well, he was never in trouble for any type of anger management issues, I guess we can call it. But when you look at some of these videos that are all over the internet, and, honestly, I just can't with these videos anymore. I truly, truly can't. He is clearly, he's like I guess we could say the sergeant of the household. So not as a loving father, but more, I guess we actually could not even say a sergeant, but more of a dictator status. And that also could be part of her trauma. Maybe there was so much trauma that she's blocked so much out. And like I said, that could be why she is the way that I feel that she is, why she's very skeptical, because I agree 100%. We are all in this together. And if you want to go out and search, then all you need to do is ask for help. It's kind of to the point now where for me, it's more like put up or shut up.
Right.
Stop with these videos. Stop with explaining the situation because every single one of us knows exactly what has happened. So let's just get it together and say, you know what? I want to put out a search. So that way we all can gather around and try to do something.
Well,
I'm sorry. I've never had a family member in my family go missing, but I've worked with so many families. And the families that I have worked with, there's less talk and there's more movement. But everything with this case it's all social media based.
Right. And for example, I wanted to use, like, since we're talking about that, like the Daniel Robinson case, okay? Because it's here, it's close to me. And you know me, if it's close to me, I'm going to go. Or if I can go, I'm going to go. I'll help, I'll search, I'll do whatever. But that dad has probably been out there over 15, 20 times. And his son's been missing for 4 years. And he goes out there and he gets volunteers from around the area to go out there. He has a drone, he has an ATV. I mean, they're driving, they have the whole search thing going, they have everything just going as it normal. And he's out there doing that. That's what I'm talking about. Like, we need action on this case, not words. And that's all that's going on now is words. And when you ask anybody, a family member or anybody involved in the case, nobody wants to say anything. It's like, what do you possibly think is going to happen at this point if you come out and say what you know? Or if you speak to somebody on a podcast and just kind of give the information? Because honestly, like the aunt that she was supposed to run away to, I would have loved to speak with her, but she passed away in 2019. But there has to be stuff that she said and stuff that she knew and things that she had heard because she was on the opposite side of it, because the police did say they interviewed her and they have her interviews and everything listed. So there's things that she probably knew that we may not know she knew. And so, like I said, we have a lot of documents still we're going through with the case file, but we found out a lot as well. So, but there's a lot of people that, know some information, and maybe the little bit of, oh, that's just stupid, or that was just a little bit of word said, or, this little phrase, that sometimes that can be the biggest thing that opens a case wide open. Just some little key word.
It can be, and there's just so many odd things that have gone on in this with this case. We have him living at one house, and then he goes and moves directly across the street. First house he's renting, the second house he buys, I believe. He's saying that he's there because he's wanting to see if his daughter, Alyssa's going to go back home. Well, why not just stay in that home? So to me, I mentioned this when we were in Desert Center, he's a watcher. He wants to watch. And that's totally a cop and a military idealism. They need to watch. They need to watch their surroundings, right, at all times. So him leaving one house, going directly across the street, out of all places, that means there is something at that property. And even though on the records they're saying that they lifted up the carpet, the floorboards, and they didn't find anything. But just think, so when you are watching those videos, and I believe that they are inside of their home, there's like wood type of paneling along the walls. And I want to say that was really popular, like the 60s, 70 era. So instead of just having, your walls painted with drywall, they were like, I don't know how to explain it, but do you understand what I'm saying? What
Yeah,
they
yeah.
are? Okay. So it's kind of like similar to wallpaper, but it's not wallpaper, right? But that I'm just going to call them the wall coverings. That's what I'm going to call them. That was actually on the walls. Now, was it like that throughout the entire home? That I don't know. But there's a good chance, because one part of the video is showing it. Chances are it might be throughout the entire home. So who took that out? Was there any construction done? Because I truly feel those walls need to be searched. I really do. He was talking about concrete. He had to fix whatever. Okay, well, what did he fix? Where was this fixed? Has there been anything done? Is something buried underneath that concrete? So it kind of goes back to my theory about the cop mentality and the military mentality, where we need to watch. And that's exactly what he was doing. So when we went out to Desert Center, that's why he said he's a watcher. right? He's a watcher. He wants to see everybody coming, going to and from. So this particular area where Alyssa's at, I don't know if it's like a part of the freeway off of the 10, or if it's like this dirt road, but he sits back and he's able to watch. He actually had mentioned that he went and did searches, right? So if we look at the time frame, either he had to have already had everything prepared before he was going to go out. So in other words, was this premeditated? Or he pretty much just said, you know what, you pissed me off. I'm doing this. I'm going to go drop you off over here. This place is completely empty. It's a ghost town. I'm going to go back and I'm going to say that I'm doing searches so that way I can go and I could dig that grave, or I can do whatever else. So was he actively searching for her? I don't believe so. I really don't. I think that he was either going back to either finish what he had already started, or he was just, this is a man who's sick in the head, and he just went out there and was just sitting doing what? I don't know what, and I don't even want to think about what he was doing. But again, it goes to show the whole watcher thing. Has this area been disturbed? Is there anybody coming up here? Those all the documentation that we were going through, it even says how he was afraid that people were going to shoot him. So even when he would go to his therapist appointment, he had a gun. So then that also takes us to an entirely different route of the story, and that's where Thomas Heimer comes into play with this as well. There's just so many different avenues. And again, I am so over it. I cannot watch another video that the daughter does. I cannot watch another video that he does. People are saying that they want to find her. Well, like I said, put up or shut up. Nothing is being done. Anyone can go and stand behind a mic and tell the same story multiple times in different versions. But the bottom line, we have someone who is missing. We have someone who allegedly her stepdad had killed her, and allegedly he has sexually assaulted her. Now, do we know this for a fact? No. But we can only assume because of the remarks on the video, the remarks from Alyssa's brother, what he had said on the court documentation. And maybe that's why nobody really wants to speak out. We've reached out to people. We've reached out to Sarah. And we have not received a single response, only from one person who I won't say their name. I asked them, can we talk? And they said, yes, I'm so-and-so, and no, I don't wish to. And I responded back, are you sure? I have so many questions. They said, I am positive. So you know what? We kept it. We kept it like that. I said, okay, have a blessed day. And we left it. I'm not going to try to push or persuade someone to do something that they don't feel comfortable with. And this is a man who's like 77 some odd years old. We know he's not in the best health condition. So what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of that this 77-year-old man is going to do?
Well, and the charges have already been, he was already found not, they dismissed the charges against him.
Yeah.
So, what can they do? At this time, it's like, why don't you just, if it was something like this and maybe he had a fascination with her, maybe he loved her, maybe this, because she wasn't biologically his and it made him jealous or whatever, put her to rest now, if that's the case. But then, like you said, it brings Thomas Heimer into this. And this is where I get a little weirded out with both of these guys because, so the father, we know, is paranoid. He's been paranoid. He has calls, tape recorded, and stuff from the 1970s, okay? He's been paranoid since the time he became a cop because he was a cop between 79 and 81, I think. It was like 2 or 3 years he was a cop for Maricopa County, okay? So he has tape recordings going all the way back to then. So this was even before Alissa was around. Um, and then it's like there's something that paranoids him so bad that he has to watch over his shoulder for. Something he got involved in or something that's going on that he's constantly watching at this point. And so that brings me to Thomas Heimer, because we know that Thomas Heimer was involved in a gang. And I'm not going to say the gang. I'm just going to, I think it's like a gang, right? Is that what they consider it really? Like if you look at it, or
I
like,
believe so.
yeah.
Yeah.
So some sort of like big group, that causes a lot of havoc. um, and it's in the California, Arizona area. So we know that he has a link to this area. And we know that he admitted to killing Alissa. I know that he sent a letter to a detective in July of 2005, to a detective stating that he killed Alissa. Mind you, everybody wants to go to this fact that there was a newspaper article in the USA Today that showed her picture, and that's where he came up with this idea. But nobody realizes that picture did not come out till February of 2006. So his letters began way before that article even came out and the picture came out. And he wasn't spelling her name right. And then he learned that the name was spelled wrong because he knew the name, but he learned it was spelled wrong when he saw the article come out. So then he knew he had spelled it wrong and made sure that he let the cops know he spelled it wrong. So it's interesting to me that he knew all of that, but it's also interesting to me that I'm saying he had connections to the Phoenix area. And at the same time, the dad's here in Phoenix area. So I was starting to think, what if there's something there, like a connection wise? And I'm not saying that he killed her. I'm not saying that Thomas Heimer killed her. I'm just saying that maybe there's something he knows or something that he was involved in, or he has more details of things, because there's just too many coincidences from this guy. He killed somebody else in Florida and hid her underneath a bed. And that's where a maid had found her and turned him in. And then they, had his ID and hunted him down. But he states that he found Alissa in a white van. She was on drugs. He picked her up in the Phoenix area. He named the bars in the Phoenix area, which may be, his connection for the gang, whatever. But he named bars in the Phoenix area. He said that he met her in May of 2001 and that she went with him and traveled with him to Georgia. And that on the way there, they stopped at a friend's house. And this friend was able to pick out a kind of a picture of her as well. It wasn't like, oh yeah, that's her, but he picked out the picture of Alissa. But when they got to Georgia, they were in a hotel. They were doing some stuff in their hotel room. And he ended up strangling her. And then he said that he dismembered her and put her in a
recycling
plant in Georgia. So when he was given a lineup of pictures, he positively identified Alissa's picture. He also positively identified her having no tattoos but having multiple piercings, which were not in any of the pictures. So you can't see that in any of the pictures. He also knew the kind of shoes she was wearing. So he had some kind of insight to some things of her that weren't known. So to me, that seems like maybe he has some knowledge, but he didn't really do it. I think he just wants to take the blame for it, but I think he knows about the situation. And maybe somehow he had heard about it, or, and he's using it because honestly, nobody was even looking for Alissa as deep and in depth until he started writing letters. And they still didn't really look into it when he started writing the letters in July of 2005 deeply until he got till about 2008 when they searched his property, 2008, 2009. So you're still talking like 3 years before they even went into the dad's house. It just seems too kind of odd to me that he has some of this information and knows this, and it's all like linked to the area, and he's got a link here. And I'm wondering if that link is not the same link that the dad might have to the Phoenix area, and the reason why he maybe became paranoid in the 70s, 80s issue. So that's kind of my look on Thomas Heimer right now. I just kind of want to get your viewpoint on what you think.
No, I definitely think that the same thing too. I mean, there has to be some reason why he is so overly paranoid. You know,
Yeah.
even on his videos, he talks about that, about the government, and you know, you can clearly tell that he's paranoid. And I mean, hello, I think everybody in this whole entire world is paranoid, right? Because we know that we're being spied on, bottom line.
Of course.
But
Some of us just don't give a shit because
yeah, we don't care, right? I don't care if my Alexa is, I don't know, saying whatever to the government. I I don't care. Why? Because I'm not doing something that I should not be doing. So when you have somebody who's overly paranoid, you know, it kind of goes to the whole thing. Well, why? Why is he carrying around a gun? Why is this allowed? Like I just don't get that. So maybe there is some sort of association, like you said, with that gang, some sort of affiliation that maybe he ran into. He had at one time he was a cop. Maybe he pissed off the wrong person, you know. But there's always going to be some truth to somebody's BS. It's kind of like the National Enquirer. Do you remember that old newspaper?
yes.
Okay. So the National Enquirer would always say, um, Jane Doe and John Doe are on the bridge of divorce from inside sources. But then you have other newspapers say, no, that's not true. And then you have that couple showing, you know, vacation photos and being all lovey-dovey. And then a month later, they end up, you know, being separated. And a year later, they're fighting in court. So there's always going to be some sort of truth to all the BS, to all the madness. The only thing is that it's like you have to dissect it word by word by word, right? Um, so I feel that there should be more
What
questions
about Thomas
asked in
Heimer?
regards, yeah, in regards to him. I feel that there should be more credibility in regards to what he's saying. I mean, at this point in time, what does anybody have to lose? We have nothing to lose because we don't have anything to go on. The only thing we have to go on are the same stories that we are constantly hearing day in and day out. I cannot get that crap off of my TikTok feed whatsoever. And it's just that, I don't know, I don't know. It's like, oh my God, I can't even explain it. Like like goody two shoe, but still has this trauma, you know, within her. I guess I don't know. I just cannot place it. And then anytime she talks to her dad, as you mentioned earlier, it's always so combative. It's like if it's as if he is being interrogated by her. This is why she's not going to get anywhere with him.
Yeah,
If she
because
were,
they can't communicate. Like you
yeah,
ask a question and they won't let each other finish.
yes, it's an interrogation. That's what it is. And I was watching. She had did an interview with the dad, and I think this may have been his recording because I don't see him whatsoever. I only see her, and he starts talking about this whole production. Are you paying them? Are you making money off of your sister? What are you making now? Like in the six figures? Um, you know, and I believe in one of those videos because they were broken up in pieces. I remember hearing, I how can I in other words, like how can I be making money off of my sister when I haven't been on any shows, right? Um, and I'm 99.9% positive that's what she said. So if I am misconstruing anything, I do apologize. But then earlier today, I believe there was the oxygen special, and she was on there, and I'm like, what the heck? So at that moment in time, it's like, okay, there's always going to be two sides to everybody's story. And we're only hearing one side, which is the sister side. I want to hear from the dad. I want to hear from the other family members, but unfortunately, they don't want to be heard from. So at this point in time, we are still going to have to listen to her long, drawn out stories because nothing's going to get done. I want to see her freaking feet in some boots out searching. This is not my sister. This is not your sister. But yet, we went to Desert Center. We were in
Yeah, we
Desert
did.
Center, and it was 120 degrees, and we were dying. Literally.
But we
There's
walked around
people,
that whole place.
yes. There's people out there who they ran out of gas. There's other people out there who just want to go and kind of check it out. But like I said, it's kind of to that moment in time where it's put up or shut up. Like, I don't want to
Right.
hear her anymore. I only want to
No,
hear
we need
from
to do
her.
some work on the file, not on the case, not just talk about it, because talking about it's not going to get us anywhere. It's between her and the dad going back and forth on who did it and who, what the information is. But at the same time, that's not going to help us any. If you obviously think you know who did it, then it's time to get out there and find her, because that's the only way we're going to get this solved, is to get some kind of body or some kind of evidence that proves that it was there, that she was killed by him.
Because there's going to be evidence there at that scene. And this is a man, like I said, 77 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's going to end up dying tomorrow, but he's 77. Next thing you know, he's going to be in his 80s. Next thing you know, he's going to be in his 90s, 100, 200, you know what I mean? So it's like, when are you finally going to say, enough's enough? This is what we need. We need tangible evidence. Tangible evidence. Have you gone back to either of those homes and asked them, have you found anything? Have you seen anything? Are you experiencing anything? Did you find anything out of the ordinary? Maybe buried in the backyard. Maybe it came across when you were watering or mowing the lawn or moving rocks around. As I mentioned, she's not my sister. She's not yours. And if this was my sister, there would have been no talking. Literally, there would not have been any talking. There would not have been talking outside of this is what happened. This is who I feel did it. And this is the next step I need to take. Who is with me? I need bodies to help me go and search. This is a very open area of the desert. I need people who have ATVs. I need people who have horses. I need people who know how to actively search. I need people who know how to do map grids. But none of that has been done. And like I said, I just cannot do any more videos of her. And another thing, and yes, I'm going to be on a tangent right here. Why not respond back to somebody texting you? Even if you're not interested, why not respond back? Is it one of those you kind of pick and choose? Who's gonna be able to give you more followers? I don't know. I don't get it. But if somebody had texted me, regardless if I was interested or not, I would have at least did the common decency of saying, thank you, I appreciate your help in this, but at this moment in time, I'm not interested. Or at this moment in time, I'm not able to do that. I'm going to keep your number handy, and I'm going to get back to you at a later time.
Exactly.
So that's my rant and rave, my tangent. I cannot do those freaking videos anymore. And even by talking about those videos right now, I just see like that blank stare. And I hear the voice. And I just cannot do it anymore. I cannot do it. Why is she so scared of the dad? And he knows she is. What does he have over her? He has absolutely nothing over her. She's a grown woman. She can make her own decisions without having to worry about what daddy's going to say. So the next video I see of her on my feed, it better be her arranging a search. Literally. And maybe she's already been out there, but she documents everything. Have you gone out to Desert Center? If you did, when? Post the video. I want to see. Now you can always go to our YouTube channel and you could see that we've been out there. I have a little snippet that I posted on our YouTube channel. We have much more video, but it's going to take too long to upload, so I have to do that another day in time. Probably with this podcast, I'll have it on there. But yeah, that's pretty much my rant and rave. Enough said. If I had a mic right with me, I would just be like, mic drop.
Right. And I know where you're coming from, because it's like we need to, like, at least at some point, like, put her to rest, peace. Like, it's been over 20 some years now at this point. It's like going back and forth 20 some years, and it's just like you can't do it anymore. But at the same time, it's like we have a starting point, at least, to know kind of like where he kind of said maybe he had done something. So we kind of know like an area to start looking, and might not be the area. She might not even be even close, but we can start. And I'm willing to do the search. I've been willing to get out and do the groundwork I'd help anybody that needed help with the search. So, I mean, if I can make it there, I'll make it there and I'll help. Like, sign me up. I'm good to go.
Well, I told you where I feel that she's at.
Mm-hmm.
But as much as I would love to put it out there, nothing's going to get done. Not a single thing is going to get done.
No. And I think that's why we're going to go back out and do another trip out to the area that we have, that you've stated that you had a feeling that she might be at. So I think we're going to go back out and just kind of make another trip and look around and, see what we got going on down there. And then, we'll video again, and then we can go over that as well too. But I'd like to talk to some more people. Like, I'd like to know more about Alissa. Like, it's just, it seems like we're so far off the beaten path of her, and it's more of just a fight and argument between the dad and the sister now. And then we forget that she's the one that's missing and disappeared. Her social security number's never been used. She never came back for the $1,800 she had in her checking account. I mean, you think after she turned 18, if she ran away, she was going to come back. Because then at that point, what can he do? You know what I mean? But at least at some point she'd want to get a job or something. I mean, you don't think a 17-year-old has the ability to just find like a new identity, I wouldn't think. And she had plans that night, so it just doesn't seem like her to run off. But we also did figure out she was picked up, around 11 o'clock, and the dad, so Sarah walked home that day and knocked on the door, and nobody was at home. So that was about 3:30. And then we know that she went over to her friend's house, and the dad did not pick her up till dark. So once you start looking at the sun patterns for that time frame, it didn't start getting dark here until about 7. So now we know we at least have an 8-hour time frame window, because they said dark. And that was both Sarah and the dad. So it was dark. So yeah, here in Arizona, it's a little bit later because it was May. So you're looking more into the summertime. So the sun's going to be out a little longer. So dark time is going to be a little bit. But we have her friends that said, she left at 11 because it was a half a day and she was supposed to get out at noon anyways. So it had to be before noon. So, and the boyfriend said it was his second period. So that would have been about 11. So we kind of have an 8-hour time frame to where he could have, 8 hours anywhere.
So how long did it take you to get from where you live to Desert Center? Like round trip, how long would it take you?
So it took me round trip. It was probably 5 hours.
Okay. So round trip, 5 hours, and he has an 8 hour window, right?
And that's going at the speed because my wife doesn't speed.
What? I
Yeah.
need to give your wife some driving tips.
She doesn't speed. So
Oh my God, I can never be in a car with you people.
I know that's why you were always gone and I was still back in the back like, hi. But yeah, so she drives at the speed limit. So that's not talking a normal person or somebody that used to be a police officer that probably drives a little bit faster. So that
Okay.
gives you about 3 hours of time from a normal drive.
Okay. So we're going to be on your wife's speed. Okay. So let's say it's 5 hours. Okay. So during that 5 hours, that's going to be his round trip. So you're going to have 3 hours to kind of play with. So during that 3 hours, there had to been some type of assault that had taken place, allegedly. Okay. I don't want to say that there was. And at that time, whatever happened to her happened. And as much as everything is leading up to the stepdad, we 100% don't know that for certain, right? We don't know if maybe he had accomplice, maybe somebody was there, maybe he paid somebody to do this, who knows, whatever it is, right? So
Right.
in that 3 hours, now let's say he had somebody who was going to do it, right? 3 hours, it's not like he's going to drive up, that person's going to be there, and they're going to do whatever. This is a young girl. She was beautiful. So chances are they probably were doing who knows whatever with her against her will, right? And then what happens after that? They have to clean up the car or whatever else and then put her somewhere. Now, that dirt out there is so hard. So
Mm-hmm.
either he had to have gone out there a couple of days before this. So was it premeditated? And that's another thing. This is why it's so important that she tries to work with everybody, because there's always new ideas that are going to come out. And maybe she's thought of this. I don't know. But was this something that was premeditated? Did he go out there a couple of days or a week before this was going to, before this actually ended up happening? So then he goes out there and is like, oh, well, I was already out here. I already have, I already have it dug up, so we can just put her here. But then you also have to cover your tracks. And how is he going to do that? So there's just so many different aspects of this. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think that's where the lie and the concrete come into play because he had a whole bunch of that too that he had bought and then he had returned some. And I wonder if there's somewhere out there that he didn't make like a makeshift grave of some sort for her, um, and put lye around it so that it wouldn't attract anything, um, to keep like bugs and different things away from her. I mean, it could be a lot of different things that had went on out there. Um, like I said, Thomas Heimer doesn't fall far from my mind because he was traveling in the area. He knows the area. He was in Phoenix at some point, obviously, because he knows some bars. He knew some information. So I think it's worth going out and checking and then him returning like what he bought 30 pounds of concrete, 30 pounds of lye, and then returned all but 10 of each or something like that. So that's another part that's out there in the middle of the wild. Um, but at the same time, we don't know. And like we're saying, we're just speculating with the information we have because nobody wants to talk. Nobody wants to give their side of the story. Not even, I mean, the dad, nobody's really given the facts in this case. And it'd be interesting to get some insight into the facts. And like they said, a psychologist worked with Thomas Heimer, and they did say that she could believe that he could have killed Alissa, and that 75% of what he says is true. So everything he's saying may not be true about the Alissa Turney case and the emails and everything that he's sending, but there has to be some truth in there, is what she's saying. So he's a very intelligent man, she said. Very intelligent. So I think that that's another area we need to look on. Maybe reach out to him, reach out to somebody, maybe a family member, see what his side of the story is, see what we can get out of it. Because I know eventually in the trial he ended up invoking his Fifth Amendment rights so that he wouldn't put himself in incriminating evidence. Because he was still claiming that he killed her up until 2022, 2023. So until the police just kept harping that he's a liar and he did this. So finally he just said, okay, I didn't do it. So he kind of just gave in. So I think, once the police keep going on you and they're just like, you're lying, it was the stepdad that did it, you didn't do it, how do you know this information? And they just kept feeding him that and calling him a liar. And so finally he was just like, okay. But he was taking the blame for years and years and years and years and years. And then in the trial, he was just like, you know what? I'm invoking my Fifth Amendment rights. I'm not going to speak. You guys have everything from previous interviews, from all the other information. I've said what I've said. I told the police I didn't do it because they just kept harping at me. And that's what they wanted. So finally, I just gave them what they wanted. And that's how it ended. But yeah, I think there's a lot of things we need to look at, a lot of more documents we need to go over, and a lot more episodes I think we could have on this Alissa Turney case, just because there's so much information in there, and we need to go through it. But also, like I said, we're going to go out for a search, and then just to check out the area, not really search, but check out the area, because you have to check it out first before you can even put a search together, and so we need to do that. But I think that's what we're going to do. But I guess we're going to end the podcast on that note tonight. Like I said, we're going to have the Desert Center video running in loop so that you can watch what we've seen. It won't have it'll have the sound of us on our podcast, but it won't have the sound of us there. I just wanted to kind of show you guys what the area was like. So you can see like the full area from my point of view, from right now, what it looks like. And like I said, we have to go back to 2001 and what it looked like there. But so we need maps. So if anybody knows how way to get maps, let us know, old maps, because Google Earth is not really cooperating for 2001. That would be great. And if you need to reach us or anybody wants to talk to us, they can reach out to us at sleuthsunleashed@gmail.com. And we will say goodnight tonight, and have a good night, everybody. And we will be back next week with a new episode.
Thank you for joining us on Sleuths Unleashed, Unraveling Criminal Cases. We hope today's episode sparked your curiosity and gave you a fresh perspective on the art of crime solving. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with fellow sleuths. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and until next time, keep unraveling the mysteries of the world.